The RPG screamed through the night sky at 11:47 p.m. And Lieutenant Cole Mercer had exactly 3 seconds to accept he was dead. 41 operators. Desert sand turning to glass under enemy fire. Snipers materializing from the darkness like ghosts. And the only person who could save them hadn't touched a rifle in 6 years. 6 weeks later, in a Texas dive bar reeking of stale beer and broken dreams, nobody knew the woman wiping down glasses had once been the most lethal weapon the Navy ever created. They saw a bartender. She was a graveyard. And when those drunk Marines spotted her tattoo, that perfect SEAL trident, they laughed. Big mistake. Before we dive into what happened next, do me a favor. Stick around till the end of this story. Drop a like if you're hooked already, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's get into it. The AC unit in Crossroads Tavern had been broken for 3 months, and Mara Callan had stopped noticing. Heat didn't bother her anymore. Not after Fallujah, not after the Hindu Kush, not after spending 72 hours in a sniper hide while the temperature hit 127 degrees and her spotter died 18 inches from her face. She moved behind the bar with the same economy of motion she'd used clearing buildings in Ramadi. Glass, towel, shelf, repeat. No wasted movement, no unnecessary noise. The Friday night crowd at Crossroads was the usual mix. Oil workers burning paychecks, college kids from Texas A and M pretending to be tough, and a rotating cast of military from the bases scattered across the state. Mara tracked all of them without appearing to look at any of them. Old habits. "Another shiner," a voice called from the end of the bar. She grabbed the bottle without turning her head, popped the cap with her belt buckle, a trick that always got a reaction from the college kids, and slid it down the wood. It stopped exactly where it needed to. The man grunted something that might have been thanks. The bell above the door chimed. 7 men walked in, and Mara's body registered them before her conscious mind caught up. Branch, Marine Corps. Recent deployment, sand still in the treads of their boots. That particular shade that only comes from Helmand Province. Condition, 3 beers past steady, 6 beers short of stupid. Threat level, manageable. Probably. They took the corner booth, the one with a clear line of sight to both exits. Good tactical sense, even drunk. The biggest one, 6'3", 220, neck like a tree trunk, caught her eye and grinned. Not the friendly kind of grin. "Yo, bartender, 7 buds, cold." Mara pulled the beers, set them on a tray, and brought them over. She'd learned early that ignoring the military types just made them louder. Better to serve them, smile just enough to not be rude, and let them get bored. "Appreciate it, darlin'," Tree Trunk said. His eyes lingered too long. "You work here every night?" "Most nights." "Lucky us." He leaned back, spreading his arms across the booth like he owned it. "Boys, we got ourselves a view with our booze." The others laughed. Not mean yet, just loud. Just drunk. Just Marines away from the chain of command and feeling immortal because they'd survived another rotation. Mara had been them once. Different uniform, different specialty, but same invincibility complex. Same need to blow off steam before the dream started. She turned to walk away. "Hey, hold up." She stopped. Didn't turn. "Need something else?" "Yeah, actually." A different voice. This one sharper, with an edge that made the hairs on her neck stand up. "What's with the ink?" Her right arm was visible below her rolled sleeve. The tattoo started at her wrist and disappeared under the fabric. Most people saw the geometric patterns, the coordinates, the dates. Most people thought it was just art. These guys were looking closer. "It's personal," Mara said. "That a trident?" Tree Trunk stood up, beer in hand, swaying slightly. "That's a SEAL trident." The bar had that particular kind of quiet that comes right before something breaks. The college kids sensed it, started gathering their things. The oil workers kept their heads down. Even the jukebox seemed to pause between songs. Mara turned slowly. "It's a tattoo." Nah. He was walking toward her now, closing the distance with that particular drunk Marine swagger that thought it was steadier than it was. "That's not just a tattoo. That's..." He squinted, That's a SEAL trident. The real deal. You should sit back down, Mara said. Flat, empty. The voice she used to use on radio checks when things were about to go loud. Holy shit! One of his buddies was up now, too. A lean guy with a scar across his jaw. She's got the whole thing. Look, there's the anchor, the pistol, the eagle. It's perfect, another one said. And there was something new in his voice. Anger. Too perfect. Tree Trunk laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Let me guess. Boyfriend was a SEAL? Got his ink copied onto your arm? That's cute. That's real cute. That's also stolen valor, Scarjaw said. He wasn't swaying at all now. Neither was his voice. You know what we do to people who fake military service? Mara's heart rate didn't change. 62 beats per minute. Same as always. Same as when she'd made a shot from 2,340 meters and watched a man's head disappear through a scope. Same as when the helicopter went down and she'd carried 2 wounded operators through 4 miles of hostile territory with a dislocated shoulder. I'm not faking anything, she said. Prove it. Tree Trunk was 3 feet away now, close enough that she could smell the beer and sweat and rage. You know what BUD/S is? Hell Week? The O course? I know. Yeah? What's the cutoff time for the O course? There isn't one. Not officially. 10 minutes is competitive. He blinked. Lucky guess. What about the combat swimmer stroke is a modified side stroke, Mara said. Her voice hadn't changed. Same flat tone, same emptiness. You do it to conserve energy and minimize surface disturbance. In hydrographic reconnaissance, you navigate using a Draeger LAR-5 rebreather to avoid bubbles. Pool comp depth is 50 feet. Ocean comp is 80. If you black out, you fail. If you panic, you fail. If you show weakness at any point during the 6 months of training, you fail. The bar had gone completely silent. And the first phase, she continued, isn't the worst part. The worst part is after you get your trident, when you realize everything you went through was just proving you could suffer. The real work starts when you hit the teams. Tree Trunk's face had changed. The swagger was gone. Now he just looked confused and angry and scared, like a kid who'd just realized he'd picked a fight with his teacher. You expect us to believe you're a SEAL? I don't expect you to believe anything. Women can't be SEALs, Scarjaw said, but his voice was uncertain now. The program opened to women in 2016, Mara said. First female candidate made it to Hell Week in 2017. Didn't finish. Second one made it to second phase in 2019. Didn't finish. The third one... She paused. Well, the third one didn't quit. Bullshit. Tree Trunk grabbed her arm. Not hard. Not yet. But firm enough to make a point. Show me the rest of it. The whole tattoo. Prove you're not just some... The sleeve tore. It was an old shirt, worn thin from too many washes, and the fabric gave way easily. The tattoo spiraled up her arm in intricate detail. Not just the trident, but a map. Coordinates. Dates. Operation names in tiny script. Kabul, Kandahar, Ramadi, Mosul, Sana'a, Tripoli. And beneath the ink, the landscape of her skin told another story. Scars. A puckered circle on her shoulder. Entry wound, 7.62 millimeters through and through. A jagged line across her forearm. Shrapnel, IED, saved by body armor that didn't quite cover everything. A small burn mark near her elbow, white phosphorus, close call, too close. And others, dozens of others. A history written in scar tissue and ink. Nobody spoke. Tree Trunk's hand was still on her arm, but his grip had gone slack. He was staring at the scars like they were words he couldn't read. Let go, Mara said. Still quiet, still empty. He did. One of the other Marines, older, maybe 30, with sergeant stripes tattooed on his forearm, pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking slightly as he typed. What's your name? Does it matter? Your name. Mara held his eyes for a long moment, then, Callan. Mara Callan. The sergeant's fingers moved across the screen. He was accessing something, a database maybe. Something military. His face changed as he read. Color drained from his cheeks. His jaw went tight. Jesus Christ, he whispered. What? Tree Trunk said. What is it? The sergeant turned his phone around. Mara couldn't see the screen from where she stood, but she knew what it said. She'd seen her own file once, years ago, before they'd classified most of it. Petty Officer First Class Mara Callan, the sergeant read, his voice hollow. SEAL Team 8. Status? Classified. Current assignment? Classified. Service record. He stopped, swallowed hard. Service record is locked. Level 5 classification. What the hell does that mean? Scarjaw asked. It means, the sergeant said slowly, that her file is locked by JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. That doesn't happen for regular SEALs. That happens for... He stopped again, scrolled down. His eyes went wide. Confirmed kills, he said. 203. The number sat in the air like a physical thing. 203. Not engagements, not missions, kills confirmed. Each one a human being who had been alive and then, because of her, wasn't. Tree Trunk took a step back, then another. His beer hit the floor and shattered, but nobody moved to clean it up. Your shadow, the sergeant said. It wasn't a question. Mara didn't answer. I heard stories, he continued. His voice had changed completely. No more bravado, no more drunk confidence, just awe and something that might have been fear. Mosul, 2017. They said a SEAL sniper held off an entire ISIS assault for 6 hours, solo, 73 kills in one day. They called it the Ghost Watch. Stories get exaggerated, Mara said. 73 in one day, the sergeant repeated. And you're here, working in a bar in Texas. I'm here working in a bar in Texas, she agreed. Scarjaw laughed. It was a brittle, broken sound. You tried to call out stolen valor, Mara said. I get it, you should. Most people who wear the trident didn't earn it. But you did? Yeah? Why didn't you say something? Tree Trunk asked. He looked young now, younger than his size suggested. Why'd you let us? Because I don't wear it anymore, Mara said simply. That part of my life is over. I'm just a bartender now. The sergeant was still reading his phone. Your file says you took medical retirement in 2019, shoulder injury, but there's a note here. He looked up, confused. It says you were cleared for duty 4 months later. It says you turned down reinstatement. Mara picked up the tray of empty bottles. Your beers are getting warm. You just walked away? Scarjaw said. From the teams? People walk away from things all the time. Not from that. Not from... He gestured at her arm, at the scars, at the impossible numbers still hanging in the air between them. Not from being the best. The best at killing people, Mara said. There was something in her voice now, finally, a crack in the emptiness. That's what 203 means. It means I'm very good at ending lives. It doesn't mean... The door burst open. 2 men entered. Not drunk college kids, not oil workers, not Marines blowing off steam. Officers, full uniform, dress blues, ribbons covering their chests like colorful armor. The first one was a commander, oak leaves on his collar, gray starting to show at his temples. The second was a master chief, older, with the kind of face that had seen everything and been impressed by none of it. They swept the bar with professional eyes, cataloging threats, exits, civilians. Their gazes landed on Mara and stopped. The commander's hand came up in a crisp salute. The master chief followed. Every Marine in the bar snapped to attention. Even drunk, even confused, muscle memory took over. Back straight, hands at sides, eyes forward. Mara stood very still. Petty Officer Callan, the commander said. His voice carried the kind of authority that didn't need to be loud. We need to talk. I'm not active duty, Mara said. We know. I'm not available for consultation. We know that too. The commander lowered his salute but didn't break eye contact. We're here anyway. The Master Chief stepped forward. He was carrying a tablet, military issue, the kind with encryption hardware built into the case. There's a situation. Mali, near the border with Algeria. Not my problem, Mara said. SEAL Team 3 is pinned down, the Master Chief continued as if she hadn't spoken. Ambush, coordinated, professional. They've got overwatch positions in the high ground, interlocking fields of fire, and at least 12 shooters we've identified. Our guys are in a kill box. Mara's hands had stopped moving. The tray hung forgotten in her grip. They've been holding position for 9 hours, the commander said. We've tried air support, can't get close enough without risking the team. We've tried extraction, lost 2 helicopters. 37 men are sitting in the desert waiting to die. Send another team, Mara said. Her voice was flat again, but something was different. Something had shifted behind her eyes. We did. They can't break the cordon. The snipers are too good. Every time we try to move, we lose people. The bar was dead silent. Even the drunk Marines had sobered up, standing at attention, listening to every word. Why are you here? Mara asked. The Master Chief tapped his tablet, turned it around, showed her the screen. It was a satellite image. Desert terrain, rock formations, a cluster of heat signatures representing the trapped SEAL team, and surrounding them, elevated positions marked in red. 12 of them, each one a sniper nest. We need someone who can make impossible shots, the commander said. Someone who can operate alone, in hostile territory, against trained marksmen. Someone who's done it before. You need a ghost, the Master Chief added. Mara stared at the screen. She knew that terrain, knew the way wind moved through those rocks, knew the sight picture at 1,800 meters when heat shimmer made everything waver and dance. They asked for you, the commander said quietly. By name, the team leader. He was there in Mosul. He knows what you can do. Who? Lieutenant Cole Mercer. The name hit her like a fist. She knew Mercer, had worked with him twice, good operator, level head, the kind of officer who listened to his NCOs and didn't let his ego make decisions. If Mercer was asking for her specifically, things were worse than they were saying. When did this happen? She asked. 16 hours ago. And you're just getting to me now? You're civilian, the Master Chief said. We had to go through channels, get authorization, cut through the red tape. His jaw tightened. While we were doing paperwork, 7 more men got hit, 3 dead, 4 wounded. Mara set the tray down. Her hands were steady, but something in her chest had gone tight. I've been out for 6 years. Your qualification scores are still on file, the commander said. You outshot every active sniper in the Navy, by a lot. Scores don't mean anything. No, the Master Chief agreed. But 203 confirmed kills do, and 73 in one day. And the fact that you're still alive when you worked alone more than any SEAL in modern history. He paused. You're the best we've ever had, and right now, we need the best. Mara looked at the Marine still standing at attention, looked at Tree Trunk, who'd called her a fake an hour ago, looked at the sergeant, who'd read her file and seen the number that defined her whether she wanted it to or not. 203. And if she said no, that number would change, because 37 men would die, and she'd have let it happen. I swore I was done, she said. Not to the officers, not to anyone in particular, just to the air. I know, the commander said. And if there was anyone else, anyone, we wouldn't be here, but there isn't. You're the only one who can make this shot. Shots, the Master Chief corrected. 12 of them, in unknown wind, unknown range, unknown conditions, against trained snipers who'll be hunting you the second you fire the first round. Mara closed her eyes. She could see it already. The scope picture, the math, the wind call, the squeeze, the recoil, the confirmation, the next target, the next calculation, the next death. She'd walked away from that. She'd promised herself she was done being a weapon. But some promises break when people are dying. I need gear, she said, eyes still closed. 110. Suppressed. Match-grade ammunition. Laser rangefinder. Ballistic computer. Full ghillie kit for desert terrain. Already in the aircraft, the Master Chief said. How long to Mali? 15 hours. We've got a C-17 waiting at Dias. Mara opened her eyes. The emptiness was gone now, replaced by something harder, colder. The thing she'd buried 6 years ago, climbing back up from wherever she'd tried to hide it. Then we're wasting time, she said. She walked out from behind the bar, didn't grab her purse, didn't clock out, didn't say goodbye to anyone, just walked. The commander and Master Chief fell in behind her, professional, silent. Escorts for a weapon being brought back into service. At the door, Mara paused, looked back at the Marines. That question you asked, she said to Tree Trunk, about why I didn't say something, why I let you call me fake. He swallowed hard. Yeah? Because being a SEAL isn't something I am, Mara said. It's something I did, and when you're done doing it, You're supposed to be able to walk away. You're supposed to be able to be normal. But you're going back, Scarjaw said. Yeah. Why? Mara looked at him for a long moment. Then, because 37 men are dying, and I'm the only one who can stop it. And if I don't go, I'll add 37 ghosts to the ones I already carry. She pushed through the door into the Texas night. Behind her, the bar erupted. Marines talking over each other, phones coming out. The sergeant already calling someone, probably his command, probably saying, "Holy shit, you won't believe who was just here." But Mara didn't hear any of it. She was already gone, already calculating, already becoming the ghost. The ride to Dyess Air Force Base took 40 minutes. Mara sat in the back of a black SUV, watching West Texas roll past the window. Flatland, empty sky, the kind of nothing that made you think too much. The commander sat up front. The Master Chief drove. Neither of them spoke. Mara appreciated that. Her phone buzzed. A text from Danny, the day shift bartender who'd cover her shifts. "Where you at?" "Boss is pissed." She typed back, "Emergency. Don't know when I'll be back." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "You okay?" "Yeah, just something I have to do. Be safe." She almost laughed. Safe. Like she was going to visit family. Like she wasn't flying halfway around the world to kill 12 men before they killed 37 others. The phone went dark. She didn't turn it back on. At Dyess, the C-17 was waiting on the tarmac, engines already spooling up. The loadmaster saluted as she approached. Another young kid who'd probably heard stories, probably thought she was taller, stronger, more intimidating. They always did. Inside, the cargo bay was configured for personnel transport. Webbed seats along the walls, gear stacked and secured in the center, and in one corner, a rifle case. Mara went to it first. The M11O was exactly as she'd requested. Suppressed barrel, Schmidt and Bender scope. Match grade 7.62 NATO rounds. She field stripped it by muscle memory, checking every component, every spring, every pin. 6 years gone, but her hands remembered. "We've got a briefing packet," the commander said, holding out another tablet. Satellite imagery, known enemy positions, topographical data. Mara took it, started reading. The terrain was bad, lots of elevated positions, lots of angles. The SEAL team was dug in at the bottom of a dry wadi, protected by rock walls on 3 sides but completely exposed to the high ground. The snipers had them boxed in perfectly. Textbook ambush. "Who are they fighting?" she asked. Al-Qaeda affiliate, local group called Jama'at Nusrat al-Islam wal-Muslimin, JNIM. They've been active in the region for years, but the commander shook his head. This is different. This is coordinated, professional, like they had advance warning. They probably did. Mara zoomed in on one of the sniper positions. These aren't random placements. They've got overlapping fields of fire, mutual support. If I take one out, the others will triangulate my position within seconds. Can you do it? She looked at him. Can I kill 12 trained snipers in unknown wind before they kill me or the team I'm trying to save? Yes. Probably. That's not reassuring. You came to me because I'm the best at this, Mara said. Not because it's easy. There's a difference. The C-17 shuddered as it began to taxi. Mara strapped into a seat, the rifle case across her lap. The commander and Master Chief sat across from her. You didn't have to come, she said to them. Yeah, we did, the Master Chief replied. You're an asset, a critical asset. Our job is to make sure you get where you need to be. I'm a person. You're a person who happens to be worth 37 other people right now, maybe more. He leaned back. When this is over, you can go back to being just a person. But right now, you're a SEAL. Even if you don't wear the uniform. The plane lifted off. Through a small window, Mara watched Texas disappear below them. She'd spent 6 years trying to forget what it felt like to be Shadow. 6 years trying to convince herself that she was just Mara, just a bartender, just someone who used to do something but didn't anymore. 6 years lying to herself. Because the truth was, she'd never stopped being Shadow. She'd just stopped using her. And now 37 men were going to live or die based on whether she could become that weapon one more time. The commander fell asleep around hour 3. The Master Chief stayed awake, reading reports on his tablet, occasionally glancing at Mara like she might disappear if he looked away. Mara didn't sleep. She ran calculations instead. Wind speed, elevation, bullet drop at 2,000 meters. The Coriolis effect, temperature, humidity, all the variables that meant the difference between a hit and a miss. Us. Between life and death. She'd made these calculations thousands of times. In training, in combat, in the quiet moments between shots when the world narrowed to math and breath, and the perfect moment when everything aligned. 203 times, those calculations had been correct. 12 more wouldn't be a problem. Except the last time she'd fired in combat, she'd hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough to wonder if the man in her scope deserved to die. If she had the right to make that decision. That hesitation had cost her. The target moved. She adjusted, fired, confirmed kill. But the hesitation had been there. And in Mali, against 12 trained snipers with 37 lives on the line, hesitation would kill everyone. She needed to be cold again, empty again. The machine she'd been in Mosul, the weapon. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Mara's hands started shaking. Not much, just a tremor, the kind you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. But she was looking, and she knew what it meant. Fear, not of dying. She'd made peace with that years ago. Fear of becoming that thing again. Fear that once she put the scope to her eye and started pulling the trigger, she wouldn't be able to stop, wouldn't be able to walk away a second time. Fear that Shadow wasn't something she did. It was something she was. The Master Chief noticed. "You good?" Mara closed her hands into fists, opened them, steady now. "Yeah, just thinking." About? About whether I can still do this. "You can." "How do you know?" He smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Because if you couldn't, you wouldn't have gotten on the plane." They landed at a forward operating base in northeastern Mali 18 hours after leaving Texas. The heat hit like a wall, dry, brutal, familiar. Mara stepped off the ramp into dust and diesel fumes and the particular smell of deployed military, sweat and gun oil, and the recycled air of too many people living too close together. A captain met them at the airfield. Young, maybe 28, already exhausted. "You're Callan?" he asked. "Yeah. Thank God." He gestured to a waiting Humvee. "We're losing light in 6 hours. After that, the snipers have thermal optics, and we don't," Mara finished. "I know. What's the current situation?" They drove through the FOB. Mara cataloged everything automatically. Guard positions, firing lanes, weak points, old habits. "Team 3 is still pinned," the captain said. "We've been trying to get drones overhead for targeting, but JNIM has man-pads. They shot down 2 already." "What about artillery?" "Too close to the team. Danger close doesn't even cover it. One miscalculation and we kill our own guys." Mara nodded. She'd expected that. This wasn't a problem you could solve with firepower. This was a problem you solved with precision. They pulled up to a command tent. Inside, a dozen officers and NCOs stood around a holographic terrain map, the kind that cost more than most people made in a year. The trapped SEAL team pulsed in blue. The enemy positions glowed red. A colonel looked up as Mara entered. His eyes went to her civilian clothes, jeans, t-shirt, boots, no uniform, no rank. "You're the sniper?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "You know what you're walking into?" 12 shooters, elevated positions, unknown range, unknown wind, unknown skill level. Mara stepped up to the map. "What I need to know is insertion. How am I getting close without getting killed?" "We're working on that," the colonel said. "Work faster." His jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" "Sir." Mara didn't look at him. She was studying the map, running calculations. "With respect, every minute we spend planning is another minute those men are in a kill box. I need wheels up in 30 minutes, or we lose the daylight window." "You just got here. You haven't even been briefed. I've been studying satellite imagery for 15 hours. I know the terrain better than anyone in this tent. What I don't know is how you're planning to insert me." The colonel looked at the commander who'd brought her. The commander just shrugged. "She's the expert," he said. The colonel turned back to Mara. "We've got a Black Hawk.
We can put you down 3 clicks out, but after that, you're on foot. 3 kilometers through enemy territory? In daylight? It's the closest we can get without alerting them. Mara shook her head. Not good enough. What about halo insertion? High altitude, low opening? The colonel blinked. Your jump qualified? Freefall, static line HAHO, halo, water insertions. I'm qualified in all of it. She pointed at the map. Put me in at 25,000 feet. I'll drift in on their blind side, set up before they even know I'm there. That's... The colonel stopped, looked at his staff. That's actually not a bad idea. It's the only idea that works, Mara said, unless you want to drive up and ask them to please stop shooting. Someone laughed. The colonel didn't. Fine. Halo insertion. But you're going alone, no support, no backup. If things go sideways, then 37 men die and it's my fault, Mara interrupted. I know. Can we move this along? 30 minutes later, Mara sat in the back of a C-130, full combat gear, parachute strapped to her back, rifle case secured to her chest. The loadmaster was going through final checks, but Mara wasn't listening. She was running the numbers again. Terminal velocity in a halo jump, 120 miles per hour. Deployment altitude, 2,500 feet. Time in free fall, roughly 90 seconds. Margin for error, 0. If she pulled too early, the chute would be visible and the snipers would know someone was coming. Too late, and she'd crater into the desert at 120 miles per hour. Just right, and she'd land soft, set up fast, and start killing before anyone knew she was there. Easy. The loadmaster gave her a thumbs up. Mara returned it. The rear ramp began to open. Wind screamed into the cargo bay, tearing at her clothes, her gear, her hair. The desert spread out below, endless, empty, hostile. Somewhere down there, 37 men were waiting, hoping, praying that help was coming, and somewhere else, 12 men with rifles were waiting too, professional, patient, ready to kill anyone who tried to help. Mara stood at the edge of the ramp, 25,000 feet of nothing between her and the ground. The loadmaster held up 3 fingers. 2. 1. Mara stepped off into empty air, and for exactly 90 seconds, she wasn't a bartender or a seal or a weapon. She was just falling. Then she pulled the cord, felt the violent jerk of deceleration, and became shadow again. The chute opened with a crack that felt like getting punched in the chest. Mara's body jerked upward, harness cutting into her thighs and shoulders, and for 3 seconds the world was just pain and the sound of nylon snapping in the wind. Then silence. She was drifting now, suspended 2,000 feet above the Malian desert, watching the ground rise slowly to meet her. The C-130 was already gone, a distant speck disappearing into the sunset. Below, the terrain looked like Mars. Red sand, black rock, nothing alive except the things trying to kill each other. Mara pulled the steering toggles, adjusting her descent. The wind was stronger than the weather report had indicated, gusting, unpredictable. She compensated, angling toward the landing zone she'd marked on the satellite imagery, a flat section of desert behind a ridgeline, out of sight from the known sniper positions. 1,500 feet. Her heart rate was steady, breathing controlled. This was the easy part. She'd done night jumps into the Hindu Kush with 0 visibility and 40-knot winds. This was a sunset stroll by comparison. 1,000 feet. The ground was coming up fast now. She could see details, scattered rocks, a dried stream bed, tire tracks from some vehicle that had passed through months or years ago. 500 feet. Mara pulled both toggles, flaring the chute, bleeding off speed. The desert rushed up, and then her boots hit sand and she was running, collapsing the chute, already moving before the fabric settled. 30 seconds to clear the landing zone. Standard procedure. Any longer, and you became a target. She stripped the harness, buried it under rocks along with the chute, and pulled the rifle case from her chest rig. The M110 came out smooth, familiar, like shaking hands with an old friend who'd tried to kill you a few times. Mara did a quick function check. Bolt, magazine, scope. Everything perfect. Then she started moving. The ridgeline was 400 meters north. She covered it in 8 minutes, staying low, using the terrain, avoiding the open sand where footprints would show. The sun was setting fast now, painting the desert in shades of orange and purple that would have been beautiful if she'd had time to care. At the ridge, she went prone and pulled out the spotting scope. The valley below was exactly as the satellite imagery had shown. The dry wadi cut through the center like a scar, maybe 30 feet deep with steep sides. At the bottom, she could see the SEAL team, dark shapes against lighter sand, spread out in a defensive perimeter, not moving, conserving energy and ammunition. 37 men. She counted heat signatures through the thermal scope. 34. 3 must be inside the shallow caves at the base of the wadi wall, out of sight. And surrounding them, on the high ground, the red team. 12 positions. Elevated. Spread out over maybe 800 meters of ridgeline, each one carefully chosen to cover specific angles, specific approaches. Whoever planned this ambush knew exactly what they were doing. Mara studied each position, cataloging distances, elevations, wind exposure. The closest was 1,100 meters. The farthest, almost 2,200. In between, a mixed bag of ranges that would require constant adjustment, constant recalculation. And the snipers themselves. She could see them now through the scope. Not clearly, just shapes, but enough to read body language. They were relaxed, patient. They'd been doing this for 16 hours and knew they could do it for 16 more. Time was on their side. Until now. Mara set up her hide. Not a proper one. No time to dig in, no time to build the kind of position that could keep her invisible for days. Just a shallow depression behind some rocks, a few handfuls of sand scattered over her ghillie suit, enough to break up her outline. It would have to do. She settled into position, rifle propped on a small bipod, scope aligned with the first target. Her breathing slowed automatically. Her heart rate dropped. 60 beats per minute. 55. 50. The world narrowed. Through the scope, target 1 resolved into clarity. A man. Maybe 30. Lean. Good position behind a rock formation. His rifle, looked like a Dragunov, Russian surplus, common in this region, was pointed down into the wadi. He wasn't actively aiming, just watching, waiting for movement. Range, 1,847 meters. Wind, gusting 8 to 12 knots from the northwest. Elevation, she was 340 feet higher than the target. Temperature dropping fast as the sun set. Mara's hands moved automatically, adjusting the scope, calculating the lead, the drop, the drift. At this range, the bullet would take almost 3 seconds to reach the target. 3 seconds for the wind to push it off course. 3 seconds for gravity to pull it down. 3 seconds for the Earth's rotation to affect the trajectory. 3 seconds for everything to go wrong. She exhaled slowly. Found the natural pause between breaths. Her finger settled on the trigger. In her earpiece, radio chatter crackled. The SEAL team's communications piped through from the command center. She'd insisted on being in the net so she could coordinate with them. Shadow, this is Havoc 6. Lieutenant Mercer's voice, strained, exhausted, but still professional. Still in command. We have you on thermal. Confirm identity. Mara clicked her radio twice. Confirmation without words. Copy that. We're down to 40% ammunition. 3 wounded. 1 critical. If we don't move in the next 2 hours, we lose him. Click, click. Understood. We'll hold until you signal. Havoc 6 out. The radio went silent. 2 hours. Mara did the math. 12 targets. 2 hours. 10 minutes per target if everything went perfect. But nothing ever went perfect. The moment she fired the first shot, the others would go active, start hunting, start moving. The easy shots would become hard shots. The hard shots would become impossible. She needed to work fast. Target 1 shifted position slightly. Mara tracked the movement, keeping the crosshairs centered on his chest. At this range, a headshot was possible but not guaranteed. Center mass was safer. Bigger target. More room for error. Not that she planned on missing. The wind dropped for a moment. The desert went still. Mara squeezed. The rifle kicked. The suppressor muffled most of the sound, reducing it to a sharp crack that wouldn't carry far. Through the scope, she watched the bullet's path. Not the bullet itself, she couldn't see that, but the effect. A tiny disturbance in the air. A shimmer. 3 seconds. Target 1's chest erupted. He went down without a sound, rifle clattering against rock. Mara was already moving. Bolt back, spent casing ejected. Fresh round chambered. Scope sweeping to target 2. 1,340 meters. Wind steady. Easier shot. She found him. younger than the first one, sitting cross-legged behind a low wall of stacked rocks, eating something from a pouch. He hadn't heard the first shot, didn't know his world was about to end. Squeeze. Crack. 2.5 seconds this time. Target 2 slumped forward. The food pouch fell from his hands. Target 3 was already in her scope. 1,920 meters. Maximum effective range for the M110. Beyond that, she was counting on luck as much as skill. This one was alert. Standing. Scanning. He'd seen something. Maybe movement from the SEAL team. Maybe just paranoia. His rifle was up. Ready. Mara adjusted for the extreme range. The bullet drop at this distance was massive. She had to aim almost 5 feet above his head to compensate. Wind shifted. Came around from the east. She waited. Steadied. Waited. The wind dropped. Squeeze. 4 seconds. Target 3 stumbled. Grabbed his shoulder. Not a kill shot. He was hit, but not down. Mara cursed silently, worked the bolt, aimed again. The target was moving now, trying to get to cover, leaving a blood trail across the rocks. Second shot. He dropped. 3 down. 9 to go. And that's when everything changed. Radio chatter erupted in her ear, frantic, loud. Havoc 6, we have movement, multiple contacts approaching from the east. How many? At least 20. Dismounted infantry. They're trying to flank us. Mara's stomach dropped. This wasn't just a sniper ambush. This was a coordinated assault. The snipers were the fix. The infantry was the hammer. And if that infantry reached the SEAL team before she cleared the high ground, everyone died. Shadow, we need those snipers down now. Mercer's voice had changed, less professional, more desperate. We can't hold both fronts. Mara didn't respond. She was already acquiring Target 4. Except Target 4 wasn't where he was supposed to be. The sniper position was empty, abandoned. The shooter had seen the others drop and done the smart thing, relocated. She scanned left, right, looking for movement, looking for... There. A flash of fabric, 200 meters from the original position. The sniper was moving fast, headed for better cover, probably trying to set up on a reverse slope where she couldn't see him. Not fast enough. Mara led the target, calculated movement speed, predicted where he'd be in 3 seconds. Fired. The running figure dropped mid-stride, 4 down, 8 to go. But now the others knew. They'd seen 4 men drop in less than 90 seconds. They knew there was another shooter, knew they were being hunted, and they were good. Target 5 disappeared before Mara could even acquire him. Just gone. Pulled back into a cave or behind a rock formation deep enough that she had no angle. Target 6 did the same. 7 stayed put but shifted position, moving just enough that only the top of his head was visible. Impossible shot from this angle. The remaining 5 scattered like roaches when the light came on. Mara's jaw tightened. This was the problem with shooting-trained operators. They adapted, learned, survived. Shadow, we need an update. Mercer again. In the background, she could hear gunfire, the crack of AKs, the deeper thump of American rifles returning fire. She keyed her radio. I'm 4 down. The rest went to ground. I need to reposition. We don't have time for you to reposition. The infantry will be on us in 5 minutes. Then hold them for 5 minutes. We're almost out of ammunition. Mara was already packing up. Rifle slung, spotting scope in her pack, moving before she'd even finished thinking about it. The new position was 600 meters west, on a different ridgeline with different angles. It would give her a shot at the cave where Target 5 had hidden. Maybe Target 6, too. She ran. Not a sprint. A controlled pace that ate up ground without burning all her energy. The ghillie suit snagged on rocks, on bushes, on everything. She tore it off, left it behind. Speed was more important than camouflage now. The gunfire in her earpiece was getting louder, more sustained. She heard someone scream, heard Mercer shouting orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. Concentrate fire on the right flank. Don't let them close the distance. We're almost dry. Then make every shot count. Mara reached the new position, dropped prone. Rifle up, scope to her eye. The angle was perfect. Target 5 was visible now, crouched at the mouth of the cave, rifle aimed down at the SEAL team. She could see his face through the scope. Young, scared. His hands were shaking. Mara didn't hesitate. Squeeze, 5 down.
Target 6 was deeper in the cave.
Harder shot. She could see part of his torso, nothing else. Not enough. She waited. Seconds crawled past. The gunfire reached a crescendo. She heard an explosion, grenade probably, or an RPG. Heard someone shouting for a medic. Target 6 shifted, leaned out just a fraction to get a better angle on the seals. Mara fired. 6 down, 6 remaining. And then her radio exploded with noise. RPG, RPG, incoming. The explosion was visible even from Mara's position. A flash of light in the wadi, a plume of smoke and dust rising into the darkening sky. We're taking casualties. Shadow, we need those snipers down now. Mara's hands moved faster. Target 7 was exposed, standing up to get a better shot at the chaos below. Stupid. Emotional. He'd just made it personal. She made it quick. 7 down, 5 left. But the infantry was closing. Through her scope, Mara could see them, dark shapes moving fast across the desert, using the failing light as cover. 20 men, maybe 25, all armed, all converging on the trapped seals. The math was simple and brutal. Even if she killed all 5 remaining snipers in the next 60 seconds, the infantry would still overrun the team. There were too many. The seals were too low on ammunition, too exhausted, too outnumbered. Unless... Mara's mind raced through options, scenarios, probabilities, and landed on one that was completely insane. She keyed her radio. Havoc 6, what's your status on smoke? A pause. Then, we've got 4 grenades. Why? Pop them all, right now. Thickest coverage you can get. That'll blind us too. Do it. Another pause. Then, popping smoke. Through the scope, Mara watched white smoke billow up from the wadi. Thick, dense, beautiful. It covered the SEAL team completely, turned the entire area into a white cloud. And more importantly, it blocked the sniper's view. Mara switched targets, forgot about the snipers, focused on the infantry. They were 800 meters out and closing, moving in a loose formation, professional but not perfect. There were gaps, weaknesses. She found the leader. Had to be. He was in front, gesturing, directing the others. Range, 764 meters. Wind, negligible now that the sun had set. She fired. The leader dropped. The formation stuttered, confused. They'd been focused on the SEALs, hadn't expected to take fire from a completely different direction. Mara worked the bolt, found the next target, fired. Another man down. Bolt, aim, fire. 3 down. The infantry scattered, started taking cover, looking for the source of the shots, but Mara was already moving again. 3rd position, different angle. Keep them guessing. Keep them off balance. She ran 300 meters in under 2 minutes. Set up behind a rock outcropping. Acquired targets. The smoke in the wadi was starting to thin. She could see the SEALs now, repositioning under cover of the haze, moving to better defensive positions. And the snipers, the remaining 5, were starting to relocate too, trying to find angles through the smoke. Target 8 appeared on a ridgeline. Mara put him down before he even raised his rifle. 8 down, 4 left. The infantry was regrouping. She could see them gathering behind a rock formation, probably planning their next move. They'd lost their momentum, lost their element of surprise, but they hadn't lost their numbers. Mara counted heads. 19. She'd dropped 6 of them. 19 left. Still too many. Her ammunition counter read 12 rounds remaining. Not enough. Not even close. Shadow! Smoke's clearing! Mercer's voice was ragged. We're repositioning, but we're blind. Where are the snipers? 4 left. I'm working on it. Work faster. We've got incoming... His voice cut off, replaced by static and the sound of gunfire. Mara's heart rate spiked. For the first time since landing, real fear crept in. Not fear for herself. Fear that she was going to fail. That 37 men were going to die while she watched through a scope. She forced the fear down. Buried it. Became the machine again. Target 9 was moving, trying to flank around to get a shot at the SEAL's new position. Mara tracked him, led him, fired, 9 down, 3 snipers left. And then she saw him. The leader. Had to be. He was positioned on the highest point of the ridgeline, completely exposed, but with a perfect view of the entire battlefield. His rifle was different from the others, newer, better maintained, with a high-end scope that probably cost more than her truck. He was scanning, methodical, professional, looking for her. And then his scope stopped, pointed directly at her position. He'd found her. Mara dropped flat a half second before his shot cracked overhead. The bullet hit the rock behind her, sprayed fragments. One piece cut her cheek. She felt blood, warm and wet. She rolled, came up in a different position, scope up, looking for him, gone. He'd relocated the instant after firing. Smart. That's what she would have done. The radio crackled. "Shadow, we're getting torn apart down here. Whatever you're doing, do it faster." Mara didn't answer. She was scanning, looking for any sign of the sniper leader. A shadow. A reflection. Anything. There. A glint of metal. Scope lens catching the last light of the sunset. He was 200 meters from his original position, set up behind a rock formation with only his rifle barrel visible. Impossible shot. No clear target, just that glint. Mara steadied her breathing, calculated. At this distance, if she hit the scope dead center, the bullet would travel through the optic, through the tube, and into the shooter's eye. If she missed by even an inch, he'd know exactly where she was, and she'd be dead. She aimed. The world went silent. No radio chatter, no gunfire, just her heartbeat and the wind and the impossible calculation running through her mind. Squeeze. The scope glint disappeared. A second later, a body slumped into view. 10 down. 2 snipers remaining. Somewhere. Hidden. Waiting. And the infantry was moving again, using the distraction of the sniper duel to advance. They were 400 meters from the SEAL team now, close enough that Mara could hear their shouts. She had maybe 2 minutes before they overran the position. 12 rounds in her rifle, 2 snipers, 19 infantry. The math didn't work. But then, in her earpiece, she heard something that changed everything. Rotor blades. Distant. Getting closer. Havoc 6, this is Guardian 2-1. We have you on visual. Permission to engage? Attack helicopters. The cavalry had arrived. Mercer's voice, breathless with relief. Guardian 2-1, you are cleared hot. Light them up. The night lit up. Miniguns screaming, rockets streaking. The infantry formation disintegrated under the assault. Men running, men falling, men dying. Mara used the chaos, found Target 11 trying to relocate during the confusion. Put him down. 11 down. 1 left. She scanned, swept her scope across every position, every rock, every shadow, nothing. The last sniper had gone completely to ground. The helicopters made another pass. The few remaining infantry were running now, abandoning the fight, fleeing into the desert. Shadow, we're clear down here. Mercer sounded like he couldn't believe it. We're clear. Mara didn't celebrate. She kept scanning. The last sniper was still out there, still a threat. And then she saw him. Not through the scope, with her naked eye. Movement to her left, close, too close. He'd hunted her, tracked her position from her muzzle flashes, flanked around while she was focused on the others. And now he was 20 meters away with his rifle coming up. Mara rolled. Her rifle was wrong angle, couldn't bring it to bear in time. She grabbed her sidearm instead. Drew. Fired 3 times as she rolled. All 3 shots missed. His didn't. The bullet hit her vest. Ceramic plate caught it. Felt like getting kicked by a horse. Air exploded from her lungs. She kept rolling, gasping, trying to breathe. He worked his bolt. Aimed again. Mara fired. One-handed, from the ground. Desperate. The shot took him in the throat. He dropped his rifle, grabbed his neck. Blood poured between his fingers. He took 2 steps. Fell. 12 down. Mara lay on her back, staring up at the stars coming out in the Malian sky, trying to remember how to breathe. Shadow? Mercer's voice in her ear, concerned now. Shadow, report! She keyed the radio. Couldn't speak yet, just clicked twice. Are you hit? Click. Pause. Click. Click. Yes. But okay. All snipers down? Click, click. Then get down here. We're extracting in 20 minutes and you're coming with us. Mara finally managed to pull air into her lungs. Sat up. Everything hurt. Her chest felt like someone had driven a truck over it. The cut on her cheek was still bleeding, but she was alive. 37 men were alive. 12 weren't. She looked at the body of the last sniper. He was young, maybe 25. His rifle was old but well-maintained, loved. There was a photo tucked into his chest pocket. She could see the corner of it sticking out. She didn't look at the photo, didn't want to know if he had a family, a wife, kids, didn't want to add faces to the number that was now 215. Mara stood, collected her rifle, started the long walk down to the wadi where the SEAL team was waiting. Behind her, the last light of day faded completely, and the desert became just another place where people killed each other and called it necessary. The walk down to the wadi took 12 minutes. Every step sent pain radiating through Mara's chest where the bullet had hit her vest. Her ribs were probably bruised, maybe cracked. Didn't matter. She'd had worse. The SEAL team saw her coming from 200 meters out. She watched them through her scope first, checking, always checking, and saw weapons lower slightly, shoulders relax. They'd been ready to shoot anything that moved. Now they were just ready to leave. Mara climbed down the rocky slope into the wadi. The first SEAL she reached was barely 20. Babyface, blood on his hands from treating wounded. He stared at her like she was a hallucination. "You're Shadow?" "I'm Callan." You're real?" Mara didn't answer. She was looking past him, counting bodies, assessing damage. 34 SEALs on their feet, 3 on stretchers. Everyone looked like they'd been through a meat grinder. Torn uniforms, dried blood, that 1,000-yard stare that came from spending too long waiting to die. "Shadow." Lieutenant Mercer appeared through the smoke haze. Late 30s, square jaw, the kind of face that looked good on recruiting posters, except now it was covered in dust and blood and exhaustion. "I don't know how to thank—" "Don't." Mara's voice was flat. "Just get your people ready to move. Extraction window is small. Already on it." He gestured to his team. They were moving with practiced efficiency despite the exhaustion, gathering weapons, loading wounded onto stretchers, destroying sensitive equipment that couldn't be carried. Mara helped where she could, held an IV bag while a medic worked on a kid who'd taken shrapnel to the leg, handed over her spare magazines to a SEAL whose ammunition pouches were completely empty. Didn't talk. Didn't need to. The helicopters came in low and fast. 2 Blackhawks for personnel, 1 Apache flying cover. The rotor wash kicked up sand that stung exposed skin and made breathing harder than it already was. Loading took 4 minutes. Wounded first, then the operators. Mara went last, climbing aboard as the pilot was already pulling collective, lifting off before she'd even sat down. The SEAL next to her, the sergeant from the bar, she realized with a jolt, was staring at her chest rig, at the blood on her vest. "You got hit?" Vest caught it. "You should let the medic—" "I'm fine." He didn't push, just nodded and turned to look out the open door at the desert falling away below them. The flight back to the FOB was 23 minutes. Nobody talked. A few slept, crashing hard now that the adrenaline was wearing off. Others just stared at nothing, processing, coming down from the edge. Mara watched the desert, watched the sun completely disappear, watched Molly turn into shadows and darkness. She'd been back in the world for less than 24 hours and already had 12 more bodies on her count. 215. The number felt heavy, heavier than it used to. They landed at the FOB just after full dark. The whole base had turned out, officers, enlisted, support staff. Everyone wanted to see the team that had survived the impossible, wanted to shake hands, wanted to be part of the story. Mara slipped away before anyone could corner her, found a quiet corner behind a supply tent, sat on a crate, let her head hang. Her hands were shaking again. Not much, just enough. "You need medical attention." The Master Chief who'd escorted her from Texas appeared out of the darkness. He had 2 bottles of water, handed her one. "I'm good." "You got shot." Vest caught it. "You're bleeding from your face." Mara touched her cheek. The cut had stopped bleeding but was still open. She'd forgotten about it. "It's superficial." "That's not the point." He sat down next to her. Didn't ask permission, just sat. "You just killed 12 men, saved 37. That's not something you just walk off." "Isn't it?" "No." Mara drank the water. It was warm and tasted like plastic, but she drained the whole bottle anyway. "What happens now?" "Now you go home, back to your bar, back to being a civilian." "Just like that?" "Just like that." The Master Chief was quiet for a moment, then, Unless you want to come back. We could use someone with your skill set. Full reinstatement, your old rank. Hell, probably a promotion given what you just did. No. You didn't even think about it.
Don't need to. Mara stood. Her ribs screamed. She ignored them. I'm done. I told you that 6 years ago. Tonight doesn't change anything. It changes everything. You're Shadow again, whether you want to be or not. Shadow's a ghost story. Something guys tell each other when they're drunk and feeling immortal. She looked at him. I'm just a bartender who used to know how to shoot. The Master Chief laughed. Not a happy sound. You keep telling yourself that. Maybe one day you'll believe it. He left. Mara stayed on the crate, staring at nothing, trying to convince herself he was wrong. She was still sitting there an hour later when the Colonel found her. Callan, my office. Now. It wasn't a request. The Colonel's office was a converted shipping container with AC that barely worked and walls covered in maps and mission boards. He dismissed everyone else, closed the door, and turned to face her. Sit. Mara sat. Her ribs appreciated it. The Colonel poured 2 glasses of something amber from a bottle he pulled from a desk drawer, slid one across to her. You're not active duty, so I can offer you alcohol without violating about 6 different regulations. Mara took the glass. Didn't drink. What did you want, sir? I want to know what the hell happened out there. He dropped into his chair. Suddenly, he looked old, tired. I've read the after-action reports, watched the drone footage, listened to the radio intercepts, and I still don't understand how one person killed 12 trained snipers and disrupted an infantry assault. I got lucky. Bullshit. Mara met his eyes. Then I'm good at my job. You're the best I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot. He drank, winced. But that's not why you're here. You're here because we have a problem. We? The Navy, JSOC, the whole community. He turned his computer screen to face her, showed her a satellite image, different terrain, different country. Recognize this? Mara studied the image. Took her 3 seconds. Benghazi, Libya. Smart girl, this was taken 2 days ago. He clicked to the next image, showed vehicles, armed men. We've got credible intelligence that a high-value target is meeting with Iranian operatives in 48 hours. Arms deal, surface-to-air missiles, the kind that can take down commercial aircraft. Not my problem. It is if the target is Khalid Mansour. The name hit her like cold water. Mansour, she knew that name, knew his file, knew his face, knew that she'd had him in her scope once, 3 years ago in Syria, and hadn't taken the shot because command had called it off at the last second. He's still alive? She asked. Very much so. And now he's buying weapons that will kill hundreds of civilians. The Colonel leaned forward. We need someone to interdict. 1 shot. Clean. No collateral damage. In and out before anyone knows we were there. You have snipers. None as good as you. I'm retired. For the next 22 hours you are. After that, you're whatever we need you to be. He closed the laptop. This isn't a request, Callan. This is a direct order from JSOC Command. You're being activated. Emergency recall. 1 mission. Then you're done. Free and clear. Mara stood. You can't do that. I'm civilian. You have no authority. We have every authority. Read your discharge papers. Section 12, paragraph 4. In cases of national emergency, former special operations personnel can be recalled to active duty for a period not exceeding 90 days. He stood too. This is happening. With you or without you. But 37 men are alive because of you. I'd like to think you'd want to keep more people from dying. That's manipulation. That's reality. He walked to the door, opened it. There's a briefing in 2 hours. Be there. He left. Mara stood alone in the office, hands clenched into fists, ribs aching, face bleeding, and the weight of 215 bodies pressing down on her shoulders like it never had before. She could walk away. Just leave. What were they going to do? Court-martial a civilian? But even as she thought it, she knew she couldn't. Because the Colonel was right. This was happening. And if she didn't go, someone else would. Someone less skilled. Someone who might miss. Someone who might cause collateral damage. Someone who might fail. And then hundreds of people would die because she'd wanted to tend bar and pretend she wasn't a weapon. Mara picked up the glass of whiskey, drained it in 1 swallow, felt it burn all the way down.
Then she went to find the briefing room. The mission brief was in a secured tent surrounded by armed guards. Inside, maybe 15 people, intelligence analysts, drone operators, communication specialists, and a SEAL team that would provide support if things went sideways. The colonel was already there. So was the Master Chief. And standing at the front of the room, next to a large screen showing satellite imagery, was someone Mara hadn't expected to see. Commander Sarah Vance, former SEAL instructor, current head of advanced sniper programs, and Mara's old mentor. Shadow. Vance's voice was exactly as Mara remembered. Hard, no nonsense. The voice of someone who'd forgotten how to be gentle somewhere around Hell Week. Good to see you're still breathing, Commander. Don't commander me. You're active duty for the next 72 hours. That makes us colleagues. She gestured to a chair. Sit down and pay attention. This brief happens once. Mara sat. Vance clicked to the first slide, showed a photograph of a man in his 50s. Dark beard, cold eyes. Khalid Mansour, former Syrian intelligence, current arms dealer, responsible for at least 14 attacks in the past 3 years, resulting in over 600 civilian casualties. He's smart, paranoid, travels with heavy security. Next slide. Building layout. The meet is happening here. Industrial district in Benghazi. Warehouse that's been abandoned for 8 years. Our assets on the ground confirm Mansour will arrive at 0400 local time. He'll have at least 12 bodyguards. The Iranians will have another 8. 20 hostiles, someone said. That's a lot for one shooter. Shadow's not engaging the security. Vance looked at Mara. She's got one target. Mansour. The second he's down, we extract. Fast and clean. Next slide. Overhead imagery showing the surrounding terrain. Problem is approach. The warehouse is in open ground, no cover within 800 meters. Any closer and you're visible. So we shoot from 800 meters, Mara said. Try 1,400. That's the closest position with adequate concealment. Vance zoomed in on a half-collapsed building. Here. Top floor. Direct line of sight. Wind will be tricky. Coming off the Mediterranean, variable speed, unpredictable direction. What's the timeline? You insert via submarine at 2200 hours tomorrow. Swim to shore. Overland to the hide site. Set up. Wait for target. Take the shot. Extraction by helicopter 8 minutes later. 8 minutes is a long time when you've got 20 armed men looking for you. That's why you'll have support. Vance nodded to the SEAL team. They'll be staged 2 clicks out. If things go loud, they move in and extract you by force. One of the SEALs spoke up. What if she misses? The room went quiet. Vance looked at the SEAL, then at Mara. She won't miss. Everyone misses sometimes. Not her. Vance's voice had gone cold. 203 confirmed kills. You know how many shots that took? 207. She's got a 98% hit rate at extreme range in combat conditions. The 4 misses were all on moving targets in high wind. The SEAL shut up. Any other concerns? Vance asked. Silence. Good. Wheels up at 1800 hours. Get your gear squared away. This brief is classified top secret. You speak to no one outside this room. Understood? A chorus of acknowledgments. Mara stood, started to leave. Shadow, hold back. The room cleared. Soon it was just Mara and Vance. You didn't have to defend me in there, Mara said. Yes, I did. You're my shooter. That kid questions you. He questions the whole mission. Vance crossed her arms. Besides, it's true. You don't miss. I missed tonight 3 times. And still killed 12 men. Vance studied her. You look like hell. Thanks. I'm serious. When's the last time you slept? Mara tried to remember. Couldn't. Does it matter? It does if you're taking a shot that could start an international incident. Vance pulled out a small bottle. Pills. Take 2 of these. Sleep for 4 hours. When you wake up, eat something. Then we do a final equipment check. What are they? Does it matter? Mara took the bottle. You know I'm done after this, right? This is the last time. I've heard that before. I mean it. I know you do. Vance turned to leave, stopped. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Sorry we're dragging you back into this. Sorry we can't let you be normal. But the world needs people who can do impossible things. And you're one of maybe 3 people on the planet who can make this shot. Who are the other 2? Classified and not available. Vance walked to the door. Get some sleep, Shadow. Tomorrow you become a ghost again. Mara found an empty bunk in a transient tent, took the pills, lay down fully clothed, stared at the canvas ceiling. Sleep came hard and brought dreams that were worse. She woke exactly 4 hours later to the sound of her alarm. Body aching, mind fuzzy, but functional. In the mess tent, she forced down eggs and coffee. The eggs tasted like cardboard. The coffee tasted like diesel fuel. She ate it all anyway. Other SEALs filtered in. A few recognized her. Most didn't. The ones who did kept their distance, like getting too close to her might be catching. Maybe it was. At 1600 hours, Mara went to the armory, found the Master Chief already there with her kit laid out. The M110 looked perfect, freshly cleaned, freshly zeroed. She checked it anyway, ran through the manual of arms, dry fired at a target on the far wall. Scopes calibrated for 1,400 meters, the Master Chief said. Ammunition's match grade. Same lot you used in Mali. Figured you'd want consistency. Thanks. You'll have a spotter, Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez. Good guy. Quiet. Won't distract you. I work better alone. I know, but this is non-negotiable. You're going into hostile territory. Having someone watch your back is smart. Mara didn't argue. He was right, and they both knew it. Rodriguez showed up 10 minutes later, late 20s, Hispanic, built like a tank. He nodded at Mara but didn't try to shake hands. Heard a lot about you, he said. Don't believe most of it. I heard you held off ISIS for 6 hours. Solo. It was 5 hours, and I had air support for the last 2. Still impressive. They did an equipment check together. Rifle, ammunition, laser rangefinder, ballistic computer, radio, med kit, water, energy bars, everything they'd need for a 24-hour operation. At 17:45 hours, they loaded into a C-130 along with the SEAL support team. The flight to the submarine was 3 hours over dark water. Mara spent it running calculations. Wind, distance, bullet drop. The same math she'd done 10,000 times before. Except this time felt different. This time felt final. The submarine was USS Ohio, a converted ICBM boat now used for special operations. They came aboard through the aft lockout chamber. Mara, Rodriguez, and their gear sealed in waterproof bags. Inside, the sub was cramped and smelled like oil and recycled air. The commander met them in the control room. You've got 12 hours until insertion. Bunks are this way. Try to rest. Mara didn't rest. She sat in the tiny berthing area, staring at her rifle case, thinking about Khalid Mansour. She'd studied his file years ago, knew his history. Former intelligence officer who'd turned freelance when the Syrian government collapsed. Smart, ruthless. The kind of man who saw human life as currency to be spent. The kind of man the world was better off without. But killing him meant becoming Shadow again, meant adding one more body to the count, meant admitting that she couldn't escape what she was, a weapon. At 21:30 hours, they suited up. Wetsuits, rebreathers, weapons sealed in waterproof containers. Rodriguez checked her gear. She checked his. Double-checked. Triple-checked. At 2200 hours, they entered the lockout chamber. The compartment flooded slowly, cold seawater rising around them, pressure equalizing. And then the hatch opened and they were swimming out into the Mediterranean night. The swim to shore took 40 minutes. Mara's ribs screamed the whole way. She ignored them, focused on Rodriguez's fins ahead of her, focused on keeping her breathing steady, focused on not thinking about what came next. They hit the beach at 22:47 hours, stripped off the wetsuits, buried them in the sand, changed into combat gear, black. No insignia. Nothing that could identify them as American if things went bad. The warehouse was 6 kilometers inland. They covered it in 90 minutes, moving slow, staying in shadows, avoiding the few people still awake at this hour. The hide site, the half-collapsed building Vance had identified, looked worse in person than in the satellite imagery. Chunks of concrete missing, rebar jutting out at dangerous angles. The stairs to the upper floors were gone, which meant climbing. Rodriguez went first. tested each handhold, each foothold. Mara followed, her rifle case strapped to her back, making every movement harder. They reached the top floor at 0047 hours. Set up in a corner with a clear view of the warehouse 1,400 meters away. And then they waited. Waiting was the worst part. Always had been. In the quiet, the mind wandered, found dark places, found faces. 215 faces. Soon to be 216. Rodriguez was professional enough not to make small talk. He set up his spotting scope, checked the wind meter, made notes in a small waterproof notebook. At 0330 hours, vehicles arrived at the warehouse. 3 SUVs black. Expensive. They parked in a loose formation around the entrance. Men got out, armed, professional. They swept the perimeter, checked the interior, established a security cordon. At 0358 hours, a fourth vehicle arrived. Mercedes. Armored. Khalid Mansour stepped out. Even at 1,400 meters, even through the scope, Mara recognized him. Same cold eyes from his file photo. Same careful movement of someone who expected assassination at any moment. He was surrounded by bodyguards, 6 of them, close, overlapping, making the shot difficult, but not impossible. Mara settled into position, rifle supported on a small bipod, scope to her eye, breathing controlled. Rodriguez whispered the wind call. 5 knots, northwest, variable. Mara adjusted, calculated. The math ran through her head automatically now. Distance, wind, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure. All of it pointed to one answer. 1 shot, 1 death, 216. Her finger found the trigger and stopped. Because in the scope, Mansour moved, and for just a second she saw his face clearly. Saw him laugh at something one of his men said. Saw him human, real. Not just a target, not just a number. A person. Targets exposed, Rodriguez whispered. You've got the shot. Mara knew. The crosshairs were perfect. Center mass. No wind, no obstruction. Perfect. Her finger wouldn't move. Shadow? Rodriguez's voice was concerned now. You okay? She wasn't, because in that moment, looking at Khalid Mansour through her scope, Mara realized something that terrified her more than any firefight ever had. She wasn't sure she could do this anymore. Wasn't sure she could pull the trigger and watch another human being die and add another number to the count that was already crushing her. Wasn't sure she was still the weapon everyone needed her to be. Shadow, he's moving, Rodriguez said urgently. You're losing the shot. Mansour was walking toward the warehouse entrance. The bodyguards were closing in. The window was shrinking. Mara's heart hammered. Her hands shook. Everything she'd buried for 6 years came flooding back. Every face, every name, every kill that had seemed necessary at the time, but haunted her afterward. 203 ghosts. About to be 204. Her finger tightened on the trigger, and in her earpiece a voice crackled to life. Shadow, abort. Repeat, abort. Do not engage. Vance's voice, urgent, commanding. Mara's finger froze. What? Rodriguez said. Why are we aborting? Mission's compromised, Vance said. Iranian intelligence knows we're there. They're moving QRF to your position. You've got maybe 8 minutes before you're surrounded. Get out now. Rodriguez was already packing up. Mara stayed frozen, scope still on Mansour, finger still on the trigger. She had the shot. She could end him right now, mission compromised or not. 1 pull, 1 death, 1 less monster in the world. Shadow, move, Rodriguez hissed. Mara took her finger off the trigger, safed the rifle, started packing. They were down the building and moving within 90 seconds. Running now. Stealth was over. Speed was everything. Behind them, vehicles converged on the building. Searchlights, shouting. They'd missed them by maybe 2 minutes. The extraction helicopter found them 3 kilometers from the coast. Ropes dropped. They climbed. The bird pulled pitch, and they were gone, racing over dark water back toward the submarine. In the helicopter, Rodriguez was on the radio, coordinating with the sub. Mara sat silent, staring at her rifle, trying to figure out if she was relieved or disappointed that she hadn't taken the shot. Vance's voice came through the headset. Shadow, you there? Yeah. You did good. Getting out alive is a win. We didn't complete the mission. Mission parameters changed. Sometimes that happens. A pause. You hesitated, didn't you, before the abort call? Mara didn't answer. I saw the drone feed, Vance said quietly. Had the shot for 8 seconds, didn't take it. Want to tell me why? Does it matter? Yeah, it does. Mara closed her eyes. Because I'm tired. Tired of killing, tired of being good at it, tired of carrying 203 bodies around like they're supposed to make me proud. The line was quiet for a long time. Then Vance said, When we get you back, you're done. For real this time. No more recalls, no more missions. I'll make sure of it personally. You can do that? I can make it happen. Another pause. You've given enough, Shadow. More than enough. Time to let someone else carry the weight. The submarine appeared below. They descended, went through the lockout sequence, stripped gear, changed into dry clothes. Mara sat in the berthing area, staring at nothing, while the Ohio turned west and started the long journey home. Rodriguez sat down next to her, didn't say anything for a while. Then, for what it's worth, I think you made the right call. We didn't complete the mission. No, but you didn't kill a man you weren't sure needed killing. He shrugged. That takes a different kind of courage. Or cowardice. I don't think you're capable of cowardice. He stood. Get some sleep. We've got 2 days underwater before we surface. Mara tried, lay in the cramped bunk, closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come. Instead, she counted. Not bodies. Not anymore. She counted the days since she'd left the teams, 2,191 days. 2,191 days trying to be normal, trying to be just Mara, just a bartender. And in less than 48 hours, they'd pulled her back, made her shadow, made her a weapon. But this time she'd refused to fire. This time she'd chosen not to kill. And somehow, that felt more powerful than any shot she'd ever made. The submarine surfaced 48 hours later off the coast of Spain. Mara hadn't slept more than 3 hours total. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the crosshairs, saw Mansour's face, saw her finger on the trigger, frozen. They transferred to a C-17 at a Spanish naval base. No ceremony, no debrief, just a quiet ride back across the Atlantic with Rodriguez asleep in the seat next to her and her rifle case on her lap like a coffin she couldn't put down. The plane touched down at Dyess Air Force Base 14 hours later. Early morning. Texas heat already building, even though the sun had barely cleared the horizon. Commander Vance was waiting on the tarmac. Alone. No Master Chief, no Colonel. Just her, standing next to a black SUV with her arms crossed. Mara descended the ramp. Rodriguez gave her a nod and headed toward the base, probably to file his own after-action report, probably to explain why they'd come home without completing the mission. You look worse than when you left, Vance said. Thanks. Get in. We need to talk. They drove in silence through the base, past hangars, past barracks, past the armory where Mara had prepped her kit 3 days ago, thinking this would be quick and clean and final. Nothing was ever clean. Vance pulled into a parking lot behind a nondescript building, killed the engine, stared straight ahead through the windshield. I lied to you, she said. Mara waited. The mission wasn't compromised. Iranian QRF wasn't moving on your position. Vance turned to face her. I called the abort because I saw you hesitate. Saw you had the shot and didn't take it. And I knew if I let it play out, one of two things would happen. Either you'd force yourself to pull that trigger and it would break something inside you. Or you wouldn't pull it and you'd spend the rest of your life wondering if you were a coward. So you made the choice for me. I made it easier. Vance's voice was quiet, tired. You've carried enough weight, Shadow. 203 kills, more solo operations than any SEAL in modern history. You've earned the right to walk away without adding one more body to the count. Mara stared at the rifle case in her lap. The Navy's going to see this as a failed mission. The Navy's going to see it however I tell them to see it. And what I'm going to tell them is that the mission was compromised through no fault of yours, extraction was successful, and the asset, you, performed admirably under pressure. She paused. What they won't know is that you had 8 seconds to take that shot and chose not to. Why are you protecting me? Because 6 years ago, you came to my office and asked to be released from service. You were 28 years old with more confirmed kills than snipers twice your age. You could have had any posting you wanted, could have written your own ticket, but you wanted out. And I asked you why. Mara remembered that conversation, remembered sitting in Vance's office at Little Creek, hands shaking, trying to explain something she didn't fully understand herself. What did I say? You said you were tired of being good at killing people, tired of being the solution to problems that required death. You said you wanted to be normal, wanted to find out who Mara Callan was when she wasn't Shadow. Vance's jaw tightened. And I let you go, signed the papers, approved the discharge, because I believed you deserved that chance. And then you dragged me back. No, JSOC dragged you back. I just went along with it because 37 men were dying and you were the only one who could save them. She looked out the window. But I shouldn't have let them use you for Benghazi. That was greed. We wanted Mansour dead and you were available and I convinced myself it was justified. Was it? Doesn't matter now. You're done. For real this time. Vance pulled an envelope from her jacket, handed it to Mara. Discharge papers. Final. No clauses about emergency recall. No loopholes. You walk away from this car and you're civilian. Permanently. Mara took the envelope, didn't open it. What about Mansour? What about him? He's still out there, still selling weapons, still going to kill people. And someone else will deal with him, not you. Vance started the engine. Come on, I'll drive you back to Crossroads. The drive to the bar took 2 hours. They didn't talk much. Vance asked about Molly once, wanted details about the sniper leader, about the tactics he'd used. Mara answered mechanically, kept it professional, kept it cold. But inside she was processing, trying to figure out what happened next. She'd been Mara the bartender for 6 years, then Shadow for 3 days. Now she was supposed to go back to being Mara like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. 215 was still 215. She hadn't added to the count, but she also hadn't escaped it. They pulled into the Crossroads parking lot at 1400 hours. The lunch crowd was filtering out. Through the window, Mara could see Danny behind the bar, wiping down glasses, probably wondering where the hell she'd disappeared to for 4 days. You gonna be okay? Vance asked. Don't know yet. Fair answer. Vance held out her hand. It's been an honor, Shadow. Mara shook it. Mara. Just Mara. Right. Just Mara. Vance smiled, sad, knowing. Take care of yourself. Mara got out, grabbed her rifle case from the back, watched Vance drive away. Then she walked into the bar. Danny looked up. His face went through several expressions, relief, confusion, anger, concern, before settling on resigned acceptance. Boss is pissed, he said. I figured. You look like you went to war. Something like that. You want to talk about it? No? Fair enough. He tossed her an apron. We're slammed tonight. Rodriguez party, 30 people. They want the back room. Mara caught the apron, looked at it, looked at the bar, looked at the rifle case in her other hand. Give me 10 minutes, she said. She went to her truck, opened the case. The M11, lay there, perfect and deadly, smelling like gun oil in the desert and everything she was trying to leave behind. She closed the case, locked it, shoved it under the back seat. Then she went inside and started pouring drinks. The Rodriguez party showed up at 1900 hours, loud, happy, celebrating something Mara didn't ask about. She served them beer and whiskey and tequila shots, smiled when appropriate, laughed at bad jokes, and felt completely disconnected from everything happening around her. At 2100 hours, the door opened and 3 Marines walked in. Tree Trunk, Scarjaw, the sergeant, the same 3 from a week ago, the ones who'd called her fake, the ones who'd read her file and learned the truth. They saw her and froze. Callan, the sergeant said. He looked different now, cleaner, sober. His uniform was crisp. We didn't know you were back. Just got in today. Can we... He glanced at his friends. Can we talk? Mara looked at Danny. He shrugged. She grabbed 3 beers and led them to a booth in the corner. We wanted to apologize, the sergeant said once they'd sat down. For the other night, for calling you out, for being disrespectful. You weren't disrespectful. You were doing what you should do. Calling out stolen valor is important. But you weren't... I know. But you didn't know that. You did the right thing. Mara slid the beers across the table. On the house. Tree Trunk hadn't said anything yet. He was just staring at her with something that looked like awe mixed with fear. You really killed 203 people? He asked quietly. 215. The number just came out. Mara hadn't meant to say it, hadn't meant to update the count, but it was there now, hanging in the air like smoke. Jesus, Scarjaw whispered. It's not something to be impressed by, Mara said. It's just math. Targets eliminated. Missions completed. It doesn't make me special. It makes me good at something I wish I wasn't good at. The sergeant leaned forward. We heard you were in Mali. Heard you saved a SEAL team. Word travels fast. We've got friends at Dias. They said you took out 12 snipers in under 2 hours. Solo. Mara didn't confirm or deny. Just looked at her hands. They weren't shaking anymore. Hadn't shaken since she'd made the decision not to shoot Mansour. Why'd you come back here? Tree Trunk asked. After Mali. After doing something like that. Why come back to pour drinks in a Texas bar? Because this is who I am now, Mara said. Shadow was just something I did, something I was good at. But it doesn't define me. Doesn't it, though? The sergeant's voice was gentle, not challenging, just questioning. You can try to walk away, try to be normal, but you'll always be the person who can do impossible things, who can save lives nobody else can save. Or take them. Yeah, or take them. He picked up his beer, drank. But that's the weight, isn't it? Knowing you're capable of both. Knowing you're the weapon everyone needs but nobody wants to be. Mara met his eyes, saw understanding there. He got it. Maybe not completely, he probably had his own body count, his own weight to carry, but enough. How do you deal with it? She asked. I don't. Not really. I just try to remember that every person I killed was trying to kill me or my brothers. That it was necessary. That I'm still one of the good guys even if I've done bad things. He set down his beer. And I drink, probably too much, probably more than I should. That's not a healthy coping mechanism. No, but it's what I've got. He stood. His friend stood with him. Thanks for the beers and for what you did in Mali. Those guys who came home, some of them have families. Kids. You gave them that. Whatever else you carry, you gave them that. They left. Mara sat alone in the booth, staring at 3 empty bottles, thinking about families and kids and the 215 people who didn't get to go home. The bar closed at 0200 hours. Danny helped her clean up, asked if she was okay one more time, accepted her non-answer, and left. Mara locked up. Stood in the empty parking lot, Texas night surrounding her, heat radiating up from the asphalt. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Debrief at 0900 tomorrow. Dias. Building 7. Non-negotiable. Vance. Mara stared at the message. Vance had said she was done, said the discharge was final. So why another debrief? She didn't sleep that night, just lay in her apartment staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios, trying to figure out what the Navy wanted now. At 0830 hours, she drove to Dias. Building 7 was a secure facility. She had to show ID 3 times just to get through the door. Vance was waiting in a conference room. So was the colonel from Mali. So was the Master Chief. And sitting at the head of the table was a 2-star admiral Mara didn't recognize. Petty Officer Callan, the admiral said. Please sit. Mara sat, kept her face neutral, kept her heart rate steady. The admiral opened a folder, read for a moment, then looked up. Let's start with Mali. 12 confirmed kills, 37 lives saved. Exceptional work under extreme pressure. The SEAL community is grateful. Thank you, sir. Now let's talk about Benghazi. His voice didn't change. Still professional, still measured. Mission was aborted due to intelligence compromise. You and Chief Rodriguez extracted successfully. No casualties. No international incident. Yes, sir. Except that's not what really happened, is it? The room went quiet. Mara didn't answer. The admiral pulled out another folder, opened it. Inside was a series of satellite images. Thermal imagery. Time-stamped. This is drone footage from the Benghazi operation. 400 hours. You're in position. Target is exposed. He
He pointed to a thermal signature. This is you. This is your rifle. This, he tapped another image, is your finger on the trigger. You held that position for 8 seconds. He slid the image across the table. The shot was perfect. Range was within your capabilities. Wind was negligible. Target was stationary. You had every advantage. He looked at her. Why didn't you take it? Mara met his eyes. Permission to speak freely, sir? Granted. Because I wasn't sure I wanted to kill anyone else. Because 215 bodies is enough. Because I'm tired of being the person everyone calls when someone needs to die. The Admiral didn't react, just kept looking at her. And you thought that was your decision to make? Yes, sir. Even though 37 men in Mali would be dead if you hadn't made similar shots 3 days earlier? That was different. How? Because in Mali, I was saving lives. In Benghazi, I was taking one. There's a difference. Is there? The Admiral leaned back. Khalid Mansour is responsible for over 600 deaths, civilian deaths. He's currently negotiating a weapons deal that will put surface-to-air missiles in the hands of terrorist organizations. Those missiles will be used to shoot down commercial aircraft. Hundreds more will die, maybe thousands. Then send someone else to stop him. We did. Mission failed. Target survived. Deal went through. The Admiral's voice was cold now, sharp. 3 days ago, an Airbus A320 was shot down over Yemen. Iranian-supplied missile, 189 passengers, 11 crew, all dead, including 47 children. The words hit Mara like a fist. That blood is on you, the Admiral said. You had the shot. You chose not to take it, and now 200 people are dead. Mara's hands clenched under the table. Her vision narrowed. She felt sick. That's not fair, Vance said. Her voice was steady, but there was steel underneath. Callan made a tactical decision based on incomplete information. She couldn't have known. She's a sniper, the Admiral interrupted. Her job isn't to know. Her job is to pull the trigger when ordered, and she failed. With respect, sir, her job is to be a weapon. And weapons don't get to choose their targets. But she's not a weapon anymore. She's a person, and people get to make choices. The Admiral turned to Vance. Are you defending insubordination, Commander? I'm defending a sailor who has given more to this country than most people ever will, who has 215 confirmed kills, who saved 37 men in Mali, who deserves the right to walk away without being blamed for deaths she didn't cause. Those 200 people are still dead, and that's tragedy, but it's not her fault. Vance stood. Sir, with respect, this debrief is over. Petty Officer Callan is discharged. Final. She's civilian. She doesn't answer to you or anyone else in this room. The Admiral's jaw tightened. Sit down, Commander. No, sir. I won't sit down and watch you destroy a good sailor because you need someone to blame for a failed mission. Vance looked at Mara. Get up. We're leaving. Mara stood. The Colonel stood too. Admiral, Commander Vance is right. This isn't productive. Callan performed admirably in Mali. The Benghazi abort was my call, based on the intelligence picture at the time. If anyone's responsible for the mission failure, it's me. Noted, the Admiral said, but he was still looking at Mara. Before you go, Petty Officer, I want you to understand something. You're the best sniper this Navy has ever produced. That's not opinion. That's fact. And when you walk out of this room, we lose that capability. We lose the one person who can make shots nobody else can make. And people will die because of it. People die anyway, Mara said. Her voice was quiet, steady. With me or without me. I'm not the solution to every problem. I'm just one person who happens to be good at killing. You're more than that. No, sir, I'm not. I'm just tired. She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the weight he carried, the decisions, the bodies, the impossible choices. With respect, sir, I've carried 215 deaths for the last 6 years. I've dreamed about their faces, wondered if they had families, wondered if every single one was justified. And I'm done adding to that number. I'm done being shadow. Even if it means more people die, even then. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he closed the folders, stood. Then you're dismissed, Petty Officer. Your discharge is final. You're free to go. Mara saluted. He returned it. She walked out. Vance followed her into the hallway. "That was rough," Vance said. "Yeah. You know he's not wrong, right? Mansour's missiles did shoot down that plane. 200 people are dead." "I know." "And you're okay with that?" Mara stopped walking, turned to face her. "No, I'm not okay with it. I'll never be okay with it. But I can't carry every death in the world. I can't be responsible for every evil person I don't kill. At some point, I have to draw a line. And my line is 215. Fair enough?" Vance held out her hand again. "Good luck, Mara. I hope you find what you're looking for." They shook. Vance walked back into the building. Mara walked to her truck. She sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes, staring at nothing, trying to process everything the Admiral had said. 200 people dead. 47 children. Because she hadn't pulled the trigger. The weight of those deaths pressed down on her, different from the 215, heavier somehow, because those were deaths she could have prevented. Her phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello? Is this Mara Callan?" A woman's voice, young, scared. "Yeah, who's this?" "My name is Sarah Mercer. I'm Lieutenant Cole Mercer's wife." Mara's heart stopped. "Is he okay?" "He's fine. He's..." A pause. Sound of crying being suppressed. "He wanted me to call you, to thank you, for Molly, for saving him, for saving his team." "He doesn't need to thank me." "Yes, he does. We have a daughter, Emma. She's 3. She doesn't understand where Daddy's been, why he's been gone so long, but he came home, because of you, and I wanted..." Her voice broke. "I wanted you to know that you gave us that. You gave Emma her father back." Mara couldn't speak. "So thank you," Sarah Mercer said. "Thank you for being there. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for making the impossible shot when nobody else could." The call ended. Mara sat in her truck, staring at her phone, feeling something break open inside her chest. 37 men came home from Mali. How many had families? How many had kids? Emma Mercer had her father. How many other children had their fathers because Mara had pulled the trigger 12 times in the Malian desert? And how many children would never have their parents because 200 people died on a plane that was shot down with missiles she could have prevented? The math didn't work. It never worked. Because life wasn't math. It was messy and complicated and full of impossible choices that didn't have right answers. She'd saved 37. She'd failed to prevent 200. Net result? Negative 163. Except that wasn't how it worked. The 37 weren't worth less than the 200. Emma Mercer's father wasn't worth less because he was one of many. Every life mattered. Every death mattered. And she couldn't carry them all. Mara started the truck, drove back to Crossroads, parked in her usual spot. Sat there for another 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do next. The rifle case was still under the back seat. She could feel its weight, could feel what it represented. Shadow. The weapon. The solution to impossible problems. She pulled it out, carried it into the bar. Danny looked up, saw the case, and his eyes went wide. "Is that..." "Yeah." "Are you..." "I don't know." She took the case to the back office, locked the door, opened it. The M11O lay there, perfect and terrible, representing everything she'd tried to leave behind and everything she couldn't escape. 215 deaths, 37 lives saved, 200 deaths she didn't prevent. And somewhere in that mess of numbers and weight and impossible choices, Mara Callan had to figure out who she was. Was she Shadow, the weapon everyone needed but nobody wanted to be? Or was she just Mara, a bartender trying to be normal? Or was she something else? Something in between? Something that could hold both truths at the same time? She didn't have an answer. So she closed the case, locked it, put it in the office closet, and went back to the bar to pour drinks and pretend she was normal. But that night, lying in bed, she didn't dream of the 215 faces. She dreamed of Emma Mercer, 3 years old, playing with her father who came home from Mali, alive because of 12 shots Mara had made. And she thought maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The dream changed 3 weeks later. Emma Mercer was still there, still playing with her father. But now there were other children, dozens of them. Faces Mara had never seen but somehow knew. Children who would never play with their parents because 200 people had died on a plane over Yemen. She woke at 0400 hours, sweating, heart racing.
and knew sleep wasn't coming back. The bar had settled into routine: pour drinks, wipe glasses, smile at customers, pretend the wait wasn't there. Danny noticed but didn't push. The regulars noticed but gave her space. Even Tree Trunk and his Marine buddies had stopped coming around, probably sensing she needed distance. But distance didn't help. Because 3 weeks after walking away from the Navy, Mara Callan was learning that you couldn't outrun what you were. At 0600 hours, she gave up on sleep. Made coffee, sat on her apartment balcony watching the sun come up over Texas flatland, and tried to figure out what came next. Her phone buzzed, text from Vance, turn on the news. Mara went inside, found her laptop, pulled up CNN. The headline made her stomach drop. Breaking. Terror attack in Brussels. 73 dead. Iranian-supplied missiles used. She read the article. An attack on a crowded train station. Surface-to-air missiles repurposed as ground weapons, fired into crowds. The same missiles Mansour had been selling in Benghazi. The same missiles she could have stopped. Her phone rang. Vance. You seen this? Vance's voice was tight, controlled, angry. Yeah. That's 273 now. 273 people dead because we didn't complete the Benghazi mission. Mara didn't answer. I know what you're thinking, Vance continued, that it's your fault, that if you'd taken the shot, these people would still be alive. And you know what? You're probably right. Is there a point to this call? The point is that Mansour is still out there, still selling weapons, still killing people. And we just got intelligence that he's meeting with another buyer in 72 hours. Syria this time. Selling the rest of his missile stockpile. Send someone else. We did. 3 different teams. All failed. He's got better security now, more paranoid. The window for a long-range shot is maybe 4 seconds. Nobody we have can make it. Mara closed her eyes. I'm done, Commander. I know, and I respect that. But I also know you're not sleeping. Know you're carrying 273 deaths that happened because you chose not to kill one man, and I'm offering you a chance to fix it. By becoming Shadow again. By finishing what you started in Benghazi. 1 shot. 1 mission. Then you're done. For real this time. No more recall. No more missions. Just peace. There's no such thing as peace when you've killed 215 people. Maybe not. But there's closure. There's knowing you did everything you could. Vance paused. Look, I'm not going to order you. Can't order you. You're a civilian. But I'm asking, as someone who cares about you, as someone who knows what this weight does to people, take the shot, end Mansour, then walk away knowing you didn't leave anything on the table. Mara was quiet for a long time. Then, when? 48 hours. I'll send the brief to your secure email. The line went dead. Mara sat on her couch, staring at her laptop, watching footage of body bags being loaded into ambulances in Brussels. 73 people, plus 200 from Yemen, 273 total, and all of them because she'd hesitated. She thought about Emma Mercer, thought about the 37 men who came home from Mali, thought about the balance sheet that never balanced because life wasn't math. Then she got up, went to the office closet, and pulled out the rifle case. The bar was closed that night. Mara told Danny she had personal business. Didn't elaborate. He didn't ask. She drove to Dias, got through security with credentials Vance had somehow reactivated, found the briefing room. Vance was there. So was Rodriguez. So was a captain Mara didn't recognize. Didn't think you'd come, Vance said. Neither did I. The captain pulled up satellite imagery. Target is Khalid Mansour. Location is an industrial complex outside Damascus. He's meeting with Hezbollah procurement officer at 0300 local time. Intelligence suggests he's selling the remaining missile stockpile, approximately 40 units. Security? Mara asked. Heavy, 24 armed guards, armored vehicles, counter-surveillance. He's learned from Benghazi. Range? 2,100 meters, wind variable. Urban environment, so heat distortion will be significant. That's outside effective range for the M110. We know. That's why we're giving you this. The captain gestured to a case on the table, opened it. Inside was a rifle Mara had only seen in spec sheets. Chaytak M200, .408 caliber, effective range 2,500 meters, used by exactly 4 snipers in the U.S. military. You're about to be the 5th. Mara stepped closer, looked at the weapon. It was beautiful and terrible. Longer than the M110. Heavier, more powerful, more deadly. Insertion? She asked. Halo drop. Same as Benghazi. But this time we're putting you down closer, 1,500 meters from the target building. You'll have 90 minutes to set up before Mansour arrives. Extraction? Helicopter. 6 minutes after the shot. That's the window. Any longer and Syrian air defense will light you up. Mara studied the satellite imagery, ran calculations, wind, distance, urban heat, all the variables that could kill the shot. And at the end of the calculation, one truth. This was possible. Difficult. Maybe the hardest shot she'd ever attempted. But possible.
What if I miss? She asked.
You won't, Vance said. But what if I do? Then 273 becomes a bigger number, and Mansour keeps selling weapons, and more people die. Vance met her eyes. But you won't miss, because you're Shadow, and Shadow doesn't miss when it matters. Mara picked up the Chaitak, felt its weight, felt what it represented. One more death. 216, or potentially hundreds more prevented. The math was simple. The choice was impossible. I need time on the range, she said. Need to zero this weapon. Need to understand how it shoots. You've got 12 hours, the captain said. Then wheels up. They spent those 12 hours at the long-range facility. Mara fired the Chaitak at every distance from 1,000 to 2,500 meters, learned its recoil, learned its drift, learned the way the barrel heated up after 3 shots and changed the trajectory. Rodriguez spotted for her, called wind, called elevation, didn't talk about anything except the technical. At 1,700 hours, Vance found her at the 2,000-meter line. How's it feel? Heavy. The rifle or the mission? Both. Vance sat down next to her. They watched the sun setting over the range, painting the targets in gold and shadow. You know you don't have to do this, Vance said. I meant what I said. You're civilian. You can walk away. Can I, though? Can I walk away knowing 273 people are dead and I could have prevented it? Maybe not. But that's the trap, isn't it? Once you're good at something like this, once you're the best, you can never really walk away because there's always another mission, always another target, always another reason why you're the only one who can do it. Mara aimed at a target 2,000 meters downrange, squeezed the trigger. The Chaitak roared. 3 seconds later, the target pinged, dead center. When does it end? Mara asked. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe being the weapon is who you are now. That's a terrible answer. It's the only one I have. Vance stood. Come on. We leave in an hour. The flight to Syria was 16 hours. C-17 to Germany, refuel, C-130 to a classified location in Jordan, then a smaller aircraft to the drop zone. Mara didn't sleep, just ran the numbers over and over. 2,100 meters. Variable wind, urban heat distortion, 4-second window when Mansour would be exposed, 4 seconds to end him, 4 seconds to prevent hundreds more deaths, 4 seconds to become 216. At 100 hours, they were over Syria. Mara stood at the open ramp, full combat gear, Chaitak strapped to her chest, parachute on her back. Rodriguez was next to her. He'd volunteered to spot again, probably because he understood what she was carrying, probably because he was a good man who recognized when someone needed backup. You ready? He asked. No. Good. The day you're ready for this is the day you should quit. The jumpmaster held up 3 fingers. 2. 1. Mara stepped into the darkness. The descent was smooth, wind calm, visibility perfect. They landed in an abandoned lot 1,500 meters from the target building, collapsed the chutes, and started moving. The hide site was a bombed-out apartment building. 5th floor. Perfect angle to the industrial complex where Mansour would arrive. They set up in silence. Rodriguez established observation. Mara assembled the Chaitak, checked the scope, ran through her pre-fire checklist. At 2:47 hours, vehicles arrived at the complex. Multiple SUVs, Rodriguez whispered. Armored. Count 6. 8, 12 armed personnel. Mara watched through the scope. The security cordon was professional, overlapping coverage, constant movement. These weren't amateurs. At 02:56 hours, a Mercedes pulled up. Mansour got out. Even at 2,100 meters, even through the scope, Mara recognized him. Same cold eyes, same careful movements, but older now, tired, probably because he knew people were hunting him. He walked toward the building entrance, surrounded by guards, barely visible through the bodies. "No shot," Rodriguez said. "Too many bodies." Mara tracked him, waited, calculated. The guards would peel off at the entrance, standard procedure. Leave 2 inside with Mansour, rest outside. There'd be a moment, maybe 2 seconds, when he was between formations. 2 seconds, not 4. Mansour reached the entrance. The guards began to peel off. Mara's finger found the trigger. Range, 2,087 meters. Wind, 6 knots quartering from the left. Elevation, she was 43 feet higher than the target. Temperature, dropping fast as the desert night deepened. All of it fed into the calculation running automatically through her mind. The guards peeled off. Mansour took 3 steps. Exposed. Mara exhaled halfway, found the natural pause. Her finger tightened and stopped. Because in the scope, Mansour turned, looked up. Not at her. Impossible to see her at this range, in this darkness. But up, at the sky, at something. And his face changed. For just a second, he didn't look like a terrorist, didn't look like an arms dealer responsible for 273 deaths. He looked tired, human, scared. He looked like all 215 faces that haunted her dreams. "Shadow, you have the shot," Rodriguez whispered urgently. Mara knew. The crosshairs were perfect. The wind had dropped. Every variable aligned. Perfect shot. And she couldn't take it, because suddenly, violently, she understood something she'd been avoiding for 3 weeks. Killing Mansour wouldn't fix anything, wouldn't bring back the 273, wouldn't erase the 215, wouldn't make her less of a weapon or more of a person. It would just be 216. Another number, another face, another weight to carry. And she was done carrying weight for other people's wars. "Shadow?" Rodriguez's voice was confused now, concerned. Mara took her finger off the trigger, safed the weapon. "Mission abort," she said quietly. "What?" "No, you have the shot. Take it." "No." "Shadow, he's moving. You're losing the window." "Good." Through the scope, Mansour disappeared into the building. Rodriguez grabbed her shoulder. "What are you doing? This is why we're here. This is the mission." Mara pulled back from the scope, looked at him. "The mission is to kill a man who will be replaced by another man, who will sell weapons to another buyer, who will kill more people. And then someone will call me again, and again, and again, because I'm good at killing, because I'm the weapon everyone needs." "So what, you're just giving up?" "No, I'm choosing." She started packing the rifle. "I'm choosing not to be the weapon anymore, not to carry every death, not to be responsible for preventing every evil in the world. 273 people are dead because of him. And 215 are dead because of me, and at some point I have to draw a line. And my line is now, here, tonight." Rodriguez stared at her. "They're going to crucify you for this. Vance, the Admiral, JSOC. They'll say you failed. Let them." Mara secured the rifle case. "I'd rather fail at being a weapon than succeed at being one." They extracted via helicopter 20 minutes later. The pilot asked if the mission was successful. Rodriguez said no, didn't elaborate. The flight back was silent. Mara sat in the cargo bay, rifle case on her lap, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. She'd failed the mission, and it felt like the first real choice she'd made in years. They landed at the Jordan base at 0600 hours. Vance was waiting. One look at Mara's face told her everything. "You didn't take the shot." "No." "Why?" "Because I'm done being Shadow, for real this time." Mara handed her the rifle case. "I'm done killing people because someone else decides they need to die. I'm done carrying numbers. I'm done being the weapon." Vance took the case. Didn't open it. "You know what this means?" Yeah, it means 273 people are dead and I didn't prevent more deaths. It means Mansour is still out there. It means I failed. Mara met her eyes. And I'm okay with that. Are you? Not yet, but I will be. Vance was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What else do you want me to say? That you're a coward? That you failed your country? That you let people die? Vance shook her head. You're not a coward. You're someone who made an impossible choice, and you chose to stop being something that was destroying you. I respect that. The Admiral won't. The Admiral can file a report and shove it somewhere uncomfortable. You're civilian. He has no authority over you. Vance handed her a tablet. Sign this. Final discharge, no loopholes, no emergency recalls. You're done, permanently. Mara took the tablet, read the discharge papers, signed. What happens to Mansour? She asked. We'll find another way. Send another team. Maybe get lucky with a drone strike. He'll die eventually. They all do. And the missiles? Will probably kill people. Maybe a lot of people. And that's tragedy. But it's not your responsibility. Vance put a hand on her shoulder. You've carried enough, Mara. Time to let someone else carry the weight. The flight back to Texas took 20 hours. Mara slept through most of it. No dreams, no faces, just darkness and rest. She landed at Dias at 1800 hours, got in her truck, drove to Crossroads. Danny was behind the bar. He looked up when she walked in. You look different, he said. Yeah? Yeah. Lighter, maybe. Like you put something down. Maybe I did. She worked that night, poured drinks, wiped glasses, smiled at customers. And for the first time in 3 weeks, in 6 years really, it felt real. Felt like she was actually present. Actually Mara instead of Shadow, pretending to be Mara. At closing time, Tree Trunk and his Marine buddies showed up. Heard you were back, the sergeant said. Just got in. Can we buy you a drink? Mara poured herself a whiskey, poured them beers. They sat at the bar in comfortable silence. We heard about Brussels, Tree Trunk said finally. Heard it was the same weapons from Benghazi. Mara didn't answer. And we heard you had another chance at the guy selling them, in Syria. The sergeant looked at her. Heard you didn't take the shot. Word really does travel fast. Is it true? Yeah. Why? Mara drank her whiskey, set down the glass. Because I'm not Shadow anymore. I'm just Mara, and Mara doesn't kill people. Even if it means more people die? Even then. She met his eyes. I spent 6 years carrying 215 deaths. 215 faces I see every time I close my eyes. And I thought if I just killed the right people, prevented enough deaths, balanced the scales, maybe I could feel okay about it. But that's not how it works. The scales never balance, the faces never go away. And at some point you have to decide who you are, weapon or person. And I chose person. Scarjaw spoke up. But you saved 37 men in Mali. You're a hero. I'm not a hero. I'm someone who made a choice, saved some people, failed to save others. That's all anyone is. They finished their drinks in silence. When they left, the sergeant shook her hand. For what it's worth, I think you made the right call. Thanks. Takes more courage to walk away than to pull the trigger. After they left, Mara locked up, stood in the empty bar, looked at her reflection in the mirror behind the bottles. She looked older, tired, scarred, but also real. Present. Human. Not a weapon. Not a ghost. Just Mara. Her phone buzzed. Email from Vance. Thought you'd want to know. Mansour was killed 3 hours ago. Drone strike. Syria. Deal didn't go through. Missiles were destroyed. Mara stared at the message. Mansour was dead, the threat was ended, and she hadn't pulled the trigger. Someone else had carried that weight. Someone else had become the weapon. And she was okay with that. A second email came through. Different sender, Sarah Mercer. My husband told me about Brussels, about the choice you had to make, about choosing not to kill. I wanted you to know that Emma asks about you sometimes, asks about the lady who saved Daddy. I tell her you're a hero, not because you killed people, but because you saved them, and because you knew when to stop. Thank you for that. Thank you for being human. Mara read the email 3 times, Then she closed her phone, turned off the lights, walked to her truck, drove home. That night, she dreamed. But not of the 215 faces. Not of the 273 people she didn't save. She dreamed of Emma Mercer, playing with her father, alive, happy. And in the dream, Mara was just watching, not through a scope, not calculating wind and distance and death, just watching as a person, as someone who had done impossible things and chosen, finally, to stop. When she woke the next morning, the weight was still there. Probably always would be. 215 deaths didn't disappear because you decided to stop adding to them, but it felt different now. Manageable. Like something she could carry without it crushing her. She made coffee, sat on her balcony, watched the sun come up over Texas. And for the first time in 6 years, Mara Callan felt like just Mara. Not Shadow, not a weapon, not the person everyone called when someone needed to die. Just a woman who used to do impossible things and had the courage to stop. The rifle case was still in her truck. She pulled it out that afternoon, took it to a storage unit on the edge of town, locked it away, didn't throw it out. That felt wrong somehow, like denying what she'd been. But she didn't need it anymore either. It was just a tool, and she was done being the person who used it. At Crossroads that night, a new customer came in. Young woman, early 20s, military bearing despite civilian clothes. "You Mara Callan?" she asked. "Yeah. I'm Lieutenant Sarah Chen, just finished sniper school, heard stories about you. About Shadow. About the most dangerous SEAL in Navy history." She paused. "I wanted to meet you. Wanted to thank you for showing people like me what's possible." Mara looked at this young woman, saw the same fire she'd once had, the same belief that being good at killing made you special. "Can I give you some advice?" Mara asked. "Of course. Don't let the job become who you are. Don't let the numbers define you. And when you're done, whenever that is, have the courage to walk away. Because being the best at killing people isn't something to be proud of. It's just something you do. And who you are is what you do when you stop." Lieutenant Chen looked confused. "But you're a legend. 215 confirmed kills, the Ghost Watch in Mosul, Mali. You're what we all aspire to be." "Then aspire to be better than I was. Aspire to know when to stop. Aspire to be human." Mara poured her a water. "The kills don't matter. The people you save do. Remember that." Chen left looking thoughtful. Mara hoped the message would stick. Hoped she wouldn't spend the next 6 years carrying faces. But knowing, probably, that she would. Because that was the cost of being good at killing. And someone had to pay it. Just not Mara. Not anymore. The weeks turned into months. Crossroads stayed busy. Mara poured drinks and wiped glasses and lived a normal life. The nightmares came less frequently. The weight got lighter. The faces started to fade. Not disappearing, just becoming part of the background instead of the foreground. She got a letter from the Navy 6 months later. Official commendation for Molly. Her name added to a classified list of Navy SEALs who'd performed exceptional service. She filed it away without reading it. Got another letter from Sarah Mercer. Photos of Emma. Growing up. Happy. Alive. That one she kept. A year after walking away the final time, Mara was closing up Crossroads when someone knocked on the locked door. Commander Vance stood outside. Mara let her in. "Didn't think I'd see you again," Mara said. "Neither did I, but I was in the area and thought I'd check in." Vance looked around the bar. "Still doing this, huh? Still doing this. You happy?" Mara thought about it. "Not sure happy is the right word. Content, maybe. At peace with who I am. That's more than most people get." Vance sat at the bar. Mara poured her a whiskey. "You heard about Mansour?" "Drone strike." "Yeah. Turned out he wasn't the only problem. His network is still active. Different faces, same weapons. People are still dying. And you're telling me this why?" "Because I wanted you to know it wasn't your fault. The deaths, the 273, the ones that came after. None of it was your fault. You were just one person trying to do an impossible job. And you did it better than anyone ever has. But you can't save everyone. Can't kill every monster. Can't prevent every tragedy." "I know that now." "Good." Vance finished her drink. "I also wanted to tell you that Lieutenant Chen, the one who came to see you, she asked to be reassigned, left the sniper program. Said she wanted to do something that didn't involve killing. Said someone she respected taught her that being good at something doesn't mean you have to do it forever. Mara smiled. She's smarter than I was. Maybe. Or maybe you taught her something she needed to learn before she carried 215 bodies around for 6 years. Vance stood. Take care of yourself, Mara. You earned it. They shook hands. Vance left. Mara locked up, went home. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling and thought about Lieutenant Chen choosing a different path. About Emma Mercer growing up with her father. About the 37 men from Mali who came home. About all the small ways choosing to stop killing had rippled outward. The 215 were still there, probably always would be, but maybe they meant something different now. Not just deaths, but lessons. Reminders that being good at something terrible doesn't make it good. That being a weapon isn't the same as being powerful. That real power is knowing when to walk away. Shadow was dead. Mara Callan was alive. And that, finally, was enough. And 3 years after Mali, Mara stood behind the bar at Crossroads on a quiet Tuesday night. The crowd was thin. Danny had the night off. She was alone, which suited her fine. The door opened. A man walked in, late 30s, military bearing, tired eyes. You Mara Callan? He asked. Yeah. Lieutenant Cole Mercer. He held out his hand. Molly. 3 years ago. You saved my life. Mara shook his hand. You came home. That's what matters. I wanted to thank you in person. My wife called, but... He paused. I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that what you did mattered. That my daughter has a father because of you, that 36 other men have families because of you, that we all came home because you did the impossible. You would have done the same. Maybe, but I didn't have to. You did it for me. He pulled out a small box, handed it to her. This is from the team, all of us. We wanted you to have it. Mara opened the box. Inside was a trident, Navy SEAL trident, engraved on the back. Shadow, Molly, 37 lives. I can't accept this, she said. You have to. It's ours to give and yours to keep. He smiled. You walked away from being a SEAL, but you'll always be part of the Brotherhood, and we wanted you to know that we don't remember you for the 215 kills. We remember you for the 37 lives you saved, for being there when nobody else could be. He left before she could respond. Mara held the trident, felt its weight, felt what it represented. Not the deaths, not the missions, not the weapons she'd been, but the lives, the choices. The moments when being Shadow had meant saving instead of killing. She put it in a drawer behind the bar. Didn't display it, didn't hide it, just kept it close. A reminder that she'd been both things, weapon and savior, killer and protector, and that both were part of who she was. The door opened again. 3 Marines walked in, young, loud, ready to drink. One of them spotted her tattoo, the SEAL trident still visible on her forearm despite her attempts to cover it. Hey, he called out. That real or you just a wannabe? His friends laughed. Mara smiled, poured 3 beers, slid them across the bar. Does it matter? She asked. The Marine looked at her closer, saw the scars, saw something in her eyes. His smile faded. I guess not, he said quietly. Good answer. She turned to clean glasses. Drink up. First round's on the house. They drank. They left. The night went on, and Mara Callan wiped down the bar, locked up, went home, and slept without dreaming of faces. Because she'd finally learned the truth that had taken 215 deaths to understand. True power isn't in pulling the trigger. It's knowing when to walk away. Gets. The most dangerous weapon isn't the one that never misses. It's the one that chooses not to fire.